Hello, this is Elizabeth Clare Brewington. I'm with Brightside Global Trade TV, and Elton will be joining us in a few minutes as well. I'm delighted to have a book author with us, Colleen Gallagher. And I think, given what we've all been through this pandemic, I think this is a really important book to read. So it's going to be on our book club and reading list that we'll be recommending. Um, and the book is going to help you to truly fall in love with yourself. And I thought that was really powerful. So, Colleen, tell us a little bit about yourself and what inspired you to write this amazing book. And then we'll go into this beautiful image as well.
Of course. Well, thank you so much first, Elizabeth, for having me. I feel so grateful and I'm excited to have this as a book that you guys recommend. It means so much to me. So thank you. That's such an honor. So this is actually my third book that I wrote, and my fourth book we actually just finished and it's going into editing right now, which is incredible. So this book actually came to me on one of the most challenging decisions in my life that I made. So I had cancer at age 14. And I was told that I would be on medication for the rest of my life, and that when I wanted to have cancer, or when I wanted to have kids, it would be really challenging. And so in 2017, I basically left my corporate job. I was 23 years old, and I moved across the world to New Zealand. And I really began my journey to self-healing and discovering who I was and how to really create a life around that. And so as I did this, I wound up eventually getting off the medication I was supposed to be on for the rest of my life. And I also wound up with a relationship where I was in a codependent, narcissistic relationship. I was the codependent, and I became pregnant when I wasn't on my medication. And so I chose to let the child go within 6 days of knowing. And as I was leaving the clinic after I took the first pill, a voice inside of my head came through me and said, pull over and start writing the book. And that was the first time that I understood, even though the fetus was only in me for 6 days, that the fetus inside me was a soul named Ella, was a girl. And all these other things came around where the name Ella came to manifest. But my daughter and I really wrote this book to offer another perspective on healing and offer another perspective on overcoming relationships, understanding yourself, and really birthing the reality that you know could always be true for you.
Oh, that's awesome. I had a cousin that had childhood cancer, and I remember, for a very long time visiting her, and she had all these test tubes, and she's alive and kicking and survived, and she's a beautiful person, just like you. So that is really awesome that you could take a traumatic experience and convert it into a book that's enabling others to survive similar situations. But I think with the pandemic, I think everyone's going through traumatic feelings and feelings of loss and not knowing the future. And I always put this to my audience because we've got so much of hate going on. You've got all these hateful people in the world. And that's why my company is Brightside, because I'm trying to bring bright sunshine to the world. So a book like this is so bright side, I call them my bright side people. So tell us a little bit about this beautiful cover. It's just so beautiful, and the design and what those colors mean to you.
Yeah, so this is a really beautiful cover my publisher Morgan
Yeah.
James did. So for those of you who know, thyroid cancer is on your throat. And so the reason that if you read my first book, which again will come out through them on January 4th, 2022, we share there that the reason that I got cancer was because I wasn't speaking my truth. And that's really how I co-created all of this. And so this represents kind of the freedom of liberation around my neck, of finally being able to speak what it is I want to say and want to share. And the colors yellow and orange, it really goes, if you know the chakra system is more of like a Buddhist Hinduism energy system. And so the yellow represents your solar plexus, your core, where you move from. So it's finally like that I'm embodied in the truth of who I am, and I can speak that. So it's really living an uncompromised life to myself from the core of my being, from the cellular structure of who I really am.
Yeah. And then you lived limitlessly and uncompromised life. So that's like really a limitless expansion. Yeah, we did. Yes. So this uh, what inspired me the most, I read through the book and I'm in the middle of writing a review for you. And what inspired me the most is your headlines, about being a heart centered person, being a business leader, or owning your power, falling in love. I mean, I just love all the actions. So let's talk about the disease. Let's talk about self love. So, so the disease of pleasing people, trying to be what people project you to be. What advice would you give to people who, or let's go a little behind. So let's talk about people who are in a traumatic situation right now. And I'm recommending that they read your book. So what advice would you give them right now? When everything is just falling apart.
Yeah, so first I'd want to just back up and want to define trauma. So there's a man named Dr. Peter Levine. He's been a trauma specialist for about 40 years, and he's done really arguably the foundational work of understanding trauma. And so how he defines trauma, which I think is really important for everyone listening, is that it's anything that emotionally disturbs you. So when you think about that, that could be if you honk on your horn, it could be when you get angry, but that moment of you honking on your horn or getting angry or feeling sad or overreacting, that may itself, that moment, not represent the trauma that occurred, but that emotional disturbance that's happening is stemming from unhealed trauma that's gone on. So it's bringing it out in different ways. And so from this pandemic, right, and all of the multitude of perspectives that people had, all of us at some point have gone through trauma, whether our family hasn't agreed with the way we perceive it, the media hasn't agreed with the way we perceive it, social media, whatever. Like, we all have really experienced it in some form because we're all trying to figure out what we think reality is. And everyone has so many different perspectives right now. So that's traumatizing for everyone because no one really knows what that is. And that's emotionally disturbing, right? So one, if you're in a traumatic situation, usually trauma means like one event, but if you're in a habitual traumatic situation, the first thing that you really need to do is understand you're probably in a hyperactive state, meaning that you're in a constant state of doing, you're in a constant state of your schedule is this, your schedule is this, and you have no time to sit by yourself and just be. And you're doing that because you're wanting to avoid an emotional breakdown, an emotional reaction, an emotional disturbance. So you're just kind of doing and doing and doing, and kind of imagine you're putting your body on a treadmill, going up an upward thing, and you're not asking for any space, and you're not giving yourself that. So the first thing you're going to want to do is just create at least 5 minutes. If it's you have to lock yourself in the bathroom away from your kids, or if you have to do whatever, and just give yourself this time and space to be present, slow your breathing down. I always say, like, breathe in 2 times, hold it for 2, and breathe out for 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This allows you to have an internal come that's coming in, and allows you to exhale the toxins that are just going through you right now. It gives you a space to do this. And from that, you're going to allow yourself to have a little bit of a clear thinking mind, clarity on, okay, I'm not happy. Something's not right here. Something needs a transition, so that you can hear the voice in your head, which is my first step in creating, a heart-centered business or a heart-centered life, is to hear that intuition, hear that voice, so that you can take the action you need to take to go where you need to go. So that's what I would say for that. That's kind of a very short process for a wide spectrum of trauma we could be talking about. But that's the first thing you want to do, is create that space to really listen to your internal self, so that way you can get into an action that's going to help you, instead of these habitual actions doing that are really hindering you and re-traumatizing you.
That's a really great way to do it, because really there's nothing you can do about being in a crisis situation. So you might as well wait it out and then be calmer when you're trying to solve the solution. I always watch games and I say that you should always not be in a defense position all the time, but try to get onto the offense. And the only way you can do that is to breathe and to let it work, because things have a way of working themselves out. They really do. And sometimes if you're in a constant traumatic situation, you just have to wait it out, no matter how long. And it eventually kind of, the universe or the karma just kind of resets itself, and suddenly you'll find yourself in a better place. So I do believe in what you said about breathing and just taking a moment. So the next thing then is, okay, so now, why is it important to forgive yourself, to love yourself? And you talk so much about truly falling in love with yourself. Why is this so important, for somebody, who's just, can't even think about themselves? They're trying to find solutions. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the first thing I wanted to say just before we move on to this one, but I just want to say of what you said, if you're in trauma right now and you're in a state, right, your goal is to be silent so you can get out of it. I wouldn't say purposely keep redoing the trauma. You want to, as soon as you can, obviously be able to take the action to get in your own space. But yes, then that would be it. If you can't do that in the immediate moment, keep doing your practice of getting still so you can do that, and know that with a trust that something greater is coming. For this part, for forgiveness and for falling in love. So I really believe that there's really two of the greatest frequencies in the world, right? Which is love or fear. And really every emotion that we've named in the reality of what we can experience, right, comes from fear or love. Now, a lot of people, they will love their life and they'll stay comfortable. But what I really believe is fear is such a strong, powerful emotion, because fear is what will catapult you into action. So if you're fear of dying, right? If you have a fear of a loved one dying, if you have fear of something like a pandemic happen, that will catapult you, most people, into some action to do something. Whereas if you just are in a state of love, of being, it may not catapult you in there. So there has to get to a point in your life where something so catastrophic happens that you become so angry at whether it's the world or other people or other things, but you become really frustrated and angry and you do something, you're fed up with it. And that action is going to catapult you massively into a state of, like, say, is rising. It's going to allow you to rise into the truth of who you are, if you allow it, of course. But when you do this, and you rise into who you are, you have a couple options, right? You can either be mad at everyone else and think the world is hateful and think that the world sucks, or you get to understand and take responsibility, which is the first principle in my book, that your soul in you, when you chose to incarnate, chose to agree or chose to go through or agreed to go through whatever experience that happened. And when you can understand this, not that it was right, not that it was just, not that you deserved it, but when you can just start to understand this, like, wow, I agreed to go through this because there's a lesson, there's a message, there's a way that I can create a heart-centered business, there's a way I can create a lifestyle career, there's a way that I can understand the greatness of who I am through this experience. When you start to do this, you can begin to have a greater forgiveness for yourself, which then allows you to forgive everyone else involved. And I think that's the most important thing, because when you have this baseline of forgiveness, then you can fall in love really with life, and you begin to navigate your emotions better, and people that you're with, situations, and you begin to look at not at everything's against you or everyone is against you, but that everything is realigning for your greatest good, for you to fall deeper in love with this world, and for you to have a greater worldly perspective and understanding of how to be empowered in who you truly are, so that way you can create whatever you want to create in this life.
Yeah, you can just almost be anything you want to be, if you choose to do it. Yeah,
The
that's a
power of
really,
choice.
really great way. Adventures. Yeah. So coming back to the business leader, one of the things that Brightside focuses on is empowering people. So we like to empower our business leaders because we feel like, they need to think about the bright side of the business and not be so negative. So tell us about your advice for business leaders, and what they can get out of the book. I think that chapter is really powerful.
Yeah, so Yahoo Finance actually shouted us out or gave us, verified us for that chapter, which is actually really incredible. And so it's the principle number 8, chapter 9 in my book. And I really write out what I believe was what I call is the really new age of way of doing business, right? We had a very masculine paradigm, and I'm not saying men, just masculine, very systematic, very process, very automation. And you still have that in business, right? You're never going to get rid of that. We always need it. But we have to come from a different place now. And this place we get to come from is this place of love and alignment and intuition and creation. Are we truly being the creator of why we are meant to be here? And that requires you to be still, to be silent, to have a void, so you can hear the voice of intuition, which is step one of creating a heart-centered business, is hear that intuition, that obsessive knowing, that thing that you know you're meant to do. Sure, your life may be good right now, you're making good money, but how great could it be? How phenomenal could it be? So it's really letting this be a practice so this intuition can come through. So that the second part that we talked about is that you begin to transition from my career to the growth of others, because this really allows you to think of not just yourself, why you're here, but really creating a community of people that are going to allow many people to grow and through you and through what you know to be true from these inner voices inside your head. The third thing, it's an 8-step process we have, is change your language to change the world. And we really use this because the power of language is what allows you to attract certain things into your reality, right? So I even say, if you're having things of trauma, instead of saying like, I'm having anxiety, or I'm having depression, or I'm nervous, it's saying, I'm experiencing feelings of anxiety. I'm experiencing feelings. So don't take it on as I am this. Say that it's just an experience that you're having so that it can pass through you. And this is the same in business. So I'm experiencing anxiety with debt, or I'm experiencing unsureness of how my next paycheck's going to come. Okay, so I'm experiencing these feelings, and how do I return myself to wholeness? How do I return myself into a space of creation? How do I return myself into a state of I know the money is coming? So when you do this language, right, you can really change the way that you're interacting with your body and the way you're interacting with the world. That's really important. The fourth part that we have for this is the power of choice. So choosing your reality, choosing what you know to be true, choosing what you know is possible for you. It's really, really important. The fifth one that we have is falling in love with the word no. So many people, I think we like to be yes people, yes, yes, yes. And you've really got to be discerning and fall in love with no. Like, no, this is not my purpose. No, that's not the person for me. No, I have a team member for that. Like really being okay and not guilty for saying that. The sixth one we have is alignment trumps everything. So knowing what alignment is, knowing that you're in tune with yourself, knowing and trusting that what's right for you is right for you. The seventh one is replace distraction with vision. So make sure you're not just doing things, like I said, just to do all the things and not be still with yourself. And the last one is becoming the identity of the future you now. And that's really what we put as becoming a heart-centered business. It's a process or a system that I created to take you through, but it comes from this place of creation. And that's the process that I can take people through. Where before it'd be a linear step if I read this book or I've done this thing. But this is now really, we're living in a world of what have you created, and from the creation, create a system and process for people to be part of.
Wow, that is such great advice. I mean, that is such great advice. So, where can we find you? What's your website? And if you're reading this, watching this episode, where can they get this book?
Yes, so you can get this on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. If you get it, just Google it. It's on Target, Walmart, everywhere. So it's not that hard to find. And then make sure you subscribe to either my Amazon, whatnot, because we have our third book coming out in January 4th, and my fourth book will come out later next year. And we have a poetry book. So there's a lot of things we have to support you on this journey. And my social media is, we have for Instagram is the Colleen Gallagher. And then my Facebook is the Colleen 111. So you can find me on there. And I'm always active on there. I love social media. I'm posting multiple times a day. I have my podcast, the Colleen Gallagher podcast. I'm always launching new online programs and experiences to be part of and communities to join. I have a healing box. I have a crystal line. So there's multiple ways we're here to support you on your journey to falling in love. And I'm really committed to it because I've seen the miracles and magic it's done for people.
Yeah, it's really magical. And when you can get past all that and get into you'll discover so many wonderful things and how you can contribute. So there you have it. You can reach Colleen, and we'll also have this information on our website, brightsideglobaltrade.org. And she's going to be one of our featured authors for the month of July. And this is really great reading. I know for me, I love to sit outdoors and sip some lemonade and read a book, during summer. And so this is a great time to do that. And if you do buy her book and you have a book and snap a photo and put it in the comments section, we'll give you 2 tickets to our next event. And we give away great things each month just for attending. So we hope that you can snap a picture and be a part of our Brightside movement. And thank you, Colleen, for your time. This was amazing. I really, really enjoyed it. And
So
we
much.
hope to have you back again sometime soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. And I'd be glad to come back whenever. I'm so grateful to co-create this space with you.